Okay, it's definitely recording now.
Okay.
Okay, here with Susan. And first question is, what is most important?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that one. It needs, people say
I
important.
can get this to where the speaker, whatever, can hear you.
Okay.
I'll just stare it out the window.
Okay. What's important? People ask, well, what's important to what or in what way? And so to give it some context, I'd say it doesn't matter what's important to me. You know, I mean, the world will go on without me, right? And what's important is that, what your priorities are. Caring for other people and the planet. This is all we have for the one life we know we have, right? So we need to take care of it. Be good stewards for the planet. Hope for the best.
My second interview of all time, David Diskin.
Yeah.
He said something similar about we only have one life.
That's right.
So it's kind of a YOLO theme. You only live once.
Oh yes. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's along those lines. Frequently, I try to think of some other questions to add on to that, but I can't think of anything right now. So let's go to the second question. What is your history with religion, and at what point or points did you decide it was or was not for you?
Okay. I was born into a family of non-believers, so I call myself a native atheist. And yet they were completely receptive to me exploring religions. You know, we had a Methodist church down the street when I was a little kid, and I went there occasionally. And it seemed kind of silly, you know. And one day, thank you. Right back here. Sure, thanks. One day I came home, and that day I at dinner I said, "Can I pray? Can I do the blessing?" I said, "Oh, well, sure, of course you can. Go ahead." And so I started in on it, and I felt so embarrassed. You know, and I don't blame that on my parents. I mean, it was like I knew it was silliness to be asking for anything from something vapor in the sky, you know. And so anyway, and the point I decided it was for me, well, later on in my teen years and so on, I tried to believe, but you know, there's just so much that isn't answered by religion, and that it pretends to. It's okay to say we don't know. That's the much more honest answer.
When I was in grade school, the teacher was getting sick of all of us just being so lazy with our answers. She said, "I don't care if your answer is right or wrong, I just want a complete sentence."
How about that?
Give me an entire sentence.
Right.
And so she asked me, and I'm like, "I don't know." She's like, "Well, at least that's a complete sentence."
You get points for that.
Yeah, well, I didn't get further scolded.
Well, that's a relief.
So, yeah, I understand that. So you were born into non-belief and explored it and decided it was not for you.
That's right. People have told me that the path to free thought is littered with tossed Bibles, you know. And boy, that is so true. I mean, you start reading that thing, and you think, oh my God, you let your kids read this? Wait, you make your kids read this? You're kidding me.
They enjoy their kids reading.
Oh God. Yeah, I mean, sit down and read that thing. You're worshiping a deity that does like that? I mean, you look at the right time. Like somebody recently mentioned the book of Samuel, where God orders the murder of babies. And I'm thinking, you people are out of your minds. So, yeah, there you go.
One of the Central American cultures. I was watching a documentary on it. They were highly advanced, living on mountaintops with stone pyramids all over the place. But the civilization just up and disappeared sometime.
Right.
And they figured it was a time where the El Nino, La Nina stuff was hitting.
Yeah, sure.
So these people, they noticed a higher number of sacrifices towards the end of their civilization.
I'll be darned. How about
They were
that?
offering themselves to better the weather.
Sure.
And of course, they didn't have the science, so they just kept killing each other until they decided, well, maybe, God really doesn't want this place and we need to burn it down and leave. And that's what they did.
Gosh. Gee. Well, I guess we'll never know what the actual details were. I'm thinking that with that level of sacrifice,
Well, I skipped out a lot of details. It's pretty gruesome how
I
they do
can
it.
imagine. Yeah. If it's like the witch hunts, isn't it, from the Middle Ages?
Worse,
You do, you do enough of that, and your society falls to pieces. That might have had something to do with it. It could have been disease. I've even heard malnutrition, but I don't buy that one. Anyway, yeah, it's a fascinating topic.
Okay, so we covered religion. The third question is my playful question. What about your life might someone say, wow, I want to be like that. That's like heroic.
Heroic. Well, okay.
And it's a two-parter. That's the first part.
Sure. I'd say that the most heroic thing I do is I bring in money for nonprofits to help people live better lives, help them with their health, mental health, education, all of that. And so, of course, people, oh my goodness, I want to do that. Well, I wanted to do it too, and that's why I do it, right? On the other end of the spectrum, a one-to-one type of thing. When I see something wrong, I go and I fix it. I was in a situation where we were visiting a family.
No pancakes today?
Just the $2 pancakes for me and no butter. You remember. Good.
You want to try any blueberries, strawberries, or bananas?
No, thank you.
Okay, that.
The same thing?
Yes, but I'll take butter.
Any blueberries, strawberries, or bananas?
No, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So my boyfriend and I went for a walk with the family dog. It was just the dog, my boyfriend, and me. And it was in a pretty rural area. And suddenly, out of nowhere, comes this big dog. It was a female Rhodesian Ridgeback, about the size of a Labrador Retriever, right? And it picked up the family dog. Her name was Frida. She picked up Frida and shook her like a rag doll. And I've been told that they do that to break the prey's neck. And I was not going to let Frida be torn apart. So, believe it or not, within seconds, I was on the ground with both dogs, and I had 2 fingers from each hand in each of the big dog's eye sockets so deeply that I could feel the optic nerves. And that dog still was going after Frida. Still, I mean, holy cow, what does it take, And so my boyfriend and I were screaming, and, we had, oh God. And finally the owner came running out, and even he couldn't get his dog off of Frida. And, I mean, he was trying to pry her jaws open, And so finally he got the dog's jaws open enough that Frida could drop and run, which is exactly what she did. And so that, I would say, is my most heroic moment so far. I've gotten children out of the road while their parents were ignoring their kids, In the grocery store, if the line is back to the meat department, I'll go up to the checker and say, could we get another checker up here? that kind of thing. It's just so many people just either they don't see it or they don't feel they have the authority or the power to step in and make something happen. I do.
There is a pit bull in my neighborhood that attacked my neighbor's dog.
Oh,
I put my fucking hands on the string pit bull and lost my grip, fell back on my ass, and I was prepared to get my throat ripped out.
yeah.
But I didn't really hurt the pit bull. I just grabbed its tail and pulled a little bit, not to hurt it.
Right.
It just decided I was an annoyance and took the dog out into the parking lot to finish its business.
Oh my God.
But by that point, I had yelled loud enough for the neighborhood to hear, and the apartment staff and other neighbors were out there. One of them had a big old board to back it with. I'm just happy I'm not dead.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
The scooter didn't make it.
Oh no.
He lived a little bit longer. It was traumatic.
Oh gosh, yes. My
So I
goodness.
understand.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The second hero part is if you were magical or high tech or whatever, movie, comic book, what kind of superpower would you have?
Well, frankly, I would have all the powers that people say God has. Okay? But I'd go further. People with amputated limbs, they would grow new limbs. People with whatever kind of health issue, I'd
So
make it better.
you could create a rock that you couldn't lift.
Well, you get into that end of it. I have no business talking about rocks
Yeah.
and weight and all that kind of thing. But yeah, the social aspect of life, the taking care of the environment, all that, I would do everything I could to make things the way they're supposed to be, without conflict and people tearing each other apart, without dogs tearing each other apart in the streets, right? So, but yeah, that's not going to happen.
Well, one of the questions that I've asked religious people who are confounded by my lack of faith, I'd ask them, well, if you were God right now, what would you do?
I've asked people that. Yeah, what do they say?
Oh, they say all sorts of shit. And I'm like, well, then why isn't he doing it?
Yes. Yes.
Only one guy answered it the way I thought was appropriate, and he said nothing. I said, really? Why would you do nothing? It's like, because I'm God. I don't need to do anything.
That's a good answer, actually.
And
I'm
that-
the boss.
Yeah, but to him it seemed more like it was a goal. It's like we're all achieving to become God, and once we get there, we're done. It's like the end of the game,
Yeah.
and that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah, that makes me think of people who are completely self-centered and have no regard for others' lives.
And I would not have thought this of this person.
Really.
He seemed very generous and forthcoming. But that's just what he understood. It's like, well, if you're God, then you're done.
Sounds like Olympic skating, Okay, these kids have spent their entire lives getting to that moment. Okay, you've got your gold medal. Now what? Or swimmers, the same deal. Okay, so you're the best in the world. Now what? They hadn't been thinking beyond now what, Yeah.
Okay, I think those were some satisfactory hero answers.
Okay.
My last question is, would you like to ask me any questions?
Oh gosh. Oh,
I love this question.
you love this part. Why?
I get some pretty challenging questions sometimes.
Really?
Yes.
Can you tell me like what?
I could, but I don't want to influence
You don't
your
wanna
question.
influence me, yeah. Oh my. Well, I hadn't thought about that at all. Questions to ask you. What do you do with your time?
Sadly, not a lot. Since I decided I wanted to become Danish, I focused on learning Danish online. And lately, I've been watching TV shows on Denmark television. And it is very different than American television.
Is that
Very
right?
different.
How so?
It's not nearly so commercialized. The one I've been watching, I've seen a couple episodes. It's called Kender du Typen, which means do you know the type? And as far as I can tell, these three people check out aspects of someone's life, go into their apartment, see what their toys are, what kind of clothes they wear, and they go, oh, well, we think this person is like this.
Interesting.
And it's odd, but it's also mentally stimulating in a positive way, but it's still odd.
Sure, yeah.
But I have to get used to the cultural differences. When they take their baby out with them and they go to a restaurant, they leave the baby outside in the stroller.
Are you serious? Oh
You will
my
see
God.
lines of babies in strollers outside of a restaurant.
I can't believe it.
That's how trusting their society is.
Well, I'm assuming this is only in nice weather.
Well,
I
yeah,
hope.
and I would hope in large cities,
Yeah.
But from what I understand, Copenhagen, if you pass a restaurant, you'll see baby carriages lined up outside.
That's bizarre. Well, bizarre to us, right? My goodness.
And
Well, how nice that they can do that.
yeah, they're the happiest people on the planet and the second most attractive. And when she said that, she's like, "Damn you, Sweden." They pay really high taxes, and they're happy with that.
That's right. That's right. Because those taxes go toward taking care of each other.
Yes. In all the things about, looking up good stuff about Denmark, I had to look up some bad stuff.
Sure.
The top two complaints were that it's too expensive.
Yeah.
You could go to 7-Eleven and a beer or two will cost you $5. I'm like, well, that sounds a lot like America.
Yeah.
So that doesn't strike me. And his second complaint was the high taxes. He said at 54% tax rate, he's working over half his time for free.
Yeah.
And he's not working for free. He's working for his fellow countrymen.
That's right.
And I totally groove on that.
Yes.
One of the things I've said about Denmark is that I'm not looking for pity, and they are least likely to give it to me.
How about that?
I also watch a lot of science documentaries, and I think that they're wrong. That was my deal with the whiteboard last
Right,
weekend.
yeah.
Apparently, we're going to set up a separate meetup, whatever thing, to discuss it. There is one guy who was interested, and he seems to think that there are others that are too.
Okay.
But when I brought it to Sunday Assembly last weekend, I'm like, so blah 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 blah, and Ken Hayes was kind of interested in it because he'd read a book and he thought he understood it. And I'm like, no, the author doesn't understand it. And they weren't too interested.
So Ken Hayes is the one that goes to Rockland's Blasphemy Breakfast? Is that right?
Yeah,
okay,
he's an
yeah.
ex-preacher.
That's right, huh? I forgot about that.
I don't do a lot with my time, and I'm looking to change that, moving to Denmark. There's computer programming I could get involved in. I also want to get involved in patient support systems.
Ooh, yes.
You know, having my experience and the experience I've shared with others online. My friend with endometriosis, I mentioned her.
Right.
I still go on that website or Facebook page, whatever it is. And I'll throw in a few good words. It's like, you know, hey, I'm really stressed, I got surgery, and it's like, okay, you know, we all have done this before, and it is fucking scary.
Yes.
So, you know, here's what I do. First of all, don't panic, okay? If you panic and you do die, that means you wasted the last moments of your life panicking.
Yeah.
You know, so either you're gonna die and you're not gonna remember any of this, or you're gonna live and you're gonna forget all of this.
Yeah, that's true. Yes, that's a good point.
So for some people, it does release the pressure.
Sure, right.
Some of them are not all convinced, but you know, you can't help all the people all the time.
That's right.
So maybe doing some of that. I have not looked into it at all. I'm focused on more of the professional type stuff so far. But it's still scary and stressful and all that too.
Yeah. So, patient support. Nice.
Do you need extra butter?
Is it still?
No thanks.
Can't tell if it. Oh, it is still recording.
So,
Oh,
patient
you
support.
didn't give us any. Oh, there's syrup. Oh, silverware? Silverware?
I could eat with my hands. It looks like a nice sandwich.
Oh, it's coming out really slow.
So anyway, patient support. Tell me what your thoughts are. What would be a good example of the kind of patient support you would want to do?
Well, like joining support groups.
Sure.
I don't see it as something I would make money from.
Right.
I'm hoping most of the money would come from computer programming and the university.
Sure.
I haven't gotten in touch with anyone at either place yet.
Yeah. Just last night, I attended a, it's called Folsom TED Talk and Current Topics Discussions, something like that. And one of the guys there has, with his son, made all sorts of programs. He said about 50 of them to do various things with your iPhone, your iPad, whatever. And so he makes a living this way with programming on his own, with he and his son. Right?
It's certainly a possibility.
Yeah, it just amazed me what he put together. There was, let's see, the one he showed us was called Shop Pro, and it's a storyboarding app.
It's what?
Storyboarding, like for
Okay.
when you're making movies. And it was phenomenal. He even has it in 3D now. Holy cow. Who knew? So apparently he's making a decent living with that.
Well, I just downloaded something called Unity 3D.
And what is that?
It's a really high level programming platform. You don't have to type in hardly anything. It's not about if then and logic statements.
Right.
It's all graphic. So you build yourself up a character. Say you want Santa Claus in your game. Well, it has all the tools in there to build that form and to treat it as one entity and have it walk around.
Right.
So most of programming is really done for you. The restriction is that if you come up with something that the platform doesn't provide for, you're out of luck. Now they do have spots in there where you can write your own code. But if you're programming at that level, you probably don't know a whole lot of code.
Right.
And that's the advantage of technology is you don't need the education. But it's also a disadvantage of the technology. Because if you don't understand how your car works, you got to pay an ass load of money to get someone to fix it.
That's right. Yeah. You know, it's so empowering to be able to do those things that you would otherwise pay for. I had a flat tire a few weeks ago, and I called whatever it is, road support for Subaru, and they were sending somebody out, and in the meantime I changed it myself. And they happened to call back again. I said, well, gosh, I'm just about done here. He said, cool. And you know, being a woman means that if you're doing unexpected things like that, it feels really, really good.
Feels really, really good as a man, too, let me tell you.
Yeah. Sure enough. You're right. It's not just half of us who feel good about shifting for ourselves.
Well, one of my neighbors, I joked about how, well, yeah, we're kind of white trash, so we know how to fix a toilet. It's like, I ain't waiting for someone to fix this. I need to do it now.
Right, yeah.
Anyways, I'm probably about ready to run out of energy.
Okay. Well, this has been a pleasure.
Is there anything you would like to say to the internet? The whole world? Give advice.
Sure. I'd say think about what you're doing. Think about what you're doing and how it affects everyone and everything around you, and what will the fallout of that be 100 years from now. Think for the future.
I would also like to add, think about what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah. Say what you mean what you say. Be clear.
And none of those superfluous statements like, you know, this is really interesting. Or, let me be brief.
Well, you know, I'd rather them waste breath on that than some less pleasant.
Not me. I'd rather hear him say fucking shit.
Yeah, not my thing, man.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Thanks for the interview. Let's see.